Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show, we have John Myers. How you doing, John?
I'm doing excellently. How are you going, Jason?
I'm doing well. I would be doing better if Chris Biscardi wasn't in here trying to get me to buy expensive camera gear. He's I don't know if you said this comment. He just comes in, drops full frame cinema camera. Yeah, just some people's kids, man. They're always trying to get me to spend my money on toys, and it works, and it's really frustrating.
Amazing, all the wonderful things that you can buy with money. It's just,
Oh
it
boy,
always seems to be something to tweak in the office setup for sure.
for real. Welcome, everyone. It is good to see you all. It's been a minute. We are doing an odd time. I'm super stoked though, and welcome Alistair Young, first time chatter. What up? Okay, so John, I feel like I've been following you for a long time. This is actually our first time meeting in person, in person. But for folks who aren't familiar with you and your work, do you want to give us a little bit of a background on yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I have been a software developer for maybe 5 or so years. I did, when I was in university, did a little bit of teaching alongside studying, which I found really fun. And so when I finished
Mm,
university, I started teaching at a boot camp here in Melbourne, Australia. And that was really fun, but I felt like I wasn't really getting the kind of challenges that come along with building something that someone else wants you to build, building someone else's crazy idea. And so I went and was a software engineer for a real estate company here in Australia, and then a bank here in Australia. And then
oh
I
wow,
felt like I had got all of the insight that I needed in software engineering, and I was really missing that kind of teaching aspect.
sure.
And so have joined Supabase as a developer advocate, and now I get to create fun demo projects and go on cool, fun streams like this and hang out with fun people.
Now I love it, and I'm super excited. So you're based in Australia, which is why we're streaming at a different time today because
Yeah, sorry about
it
that.
is 4 p.m. in Portland right now. But it is what time for you?
11 a.m. So very, very reasonable for me.
But
I
11 a.m. in
appreciate
the
it.
future because you're on
That's
January
true.
12th, right?
That's true. So
Yeah,
I
and
can
I'm
tell
I'm
you
still on January 11th.
nothing
How
really exciting happens between January 11th and 12th. You'll be okay.
I will say an unexpected benefit here is we're seeing a lot of people join in the chat for the first time. E-boy, Diggeth, welcome. Thank you for coming. D Thompson, thank you so much for the cheers. Welcome everybody. I'm really excited, and this is an exciting one for me because you and I talked about doing a Supabase episode a while ago, but then due to schedules and the holidays and all those things, it got delayed. But I told myself because we had scheduled this episode, I was like, I'm not going to try Supabase until we do this episode because I want to make sure that I get the full experience of like first time usage. But then it got delayed so much that I was like, oh no, now it looks like I'm intentionally not using Supabase for like my own reasons. And that's absolutely not the case. I'm really excited. I just really wanted to give this a try. But so before we actually start coding though, I want to talk a little bit about more of the abstract here because Supabase is unique, or if not unique, it is kind of positioned interestingly compared to some of the other databases out there because I think when I call it a database, I'm not even being completely accurate, right? So could you
Yeah, part
maybe
of it is
give us,
about.
yeah, give us the elevator pitch, like what is Supabase and what makes it kind of unique? What makes it stand out from the other places in the field?
Sure. And so originally our positioning was that we were a an open source alternative to Firebase, and
Okay.
so we a bunch of people at Supabase have used Firebase extensively and just love that developer experience. Like it's such a great product, and as a developer trying to just get up and running with somewhere to store stuff and some authentication, authorization, some real time stuff, all of that. It makes so incredibly easy. The problem that a couple of people, the two founders of Supabase, found was once you try to take that to scale, sometimes you may hit some limitations
Mm,
that something like a relational database can solve. And so initially we positioned ourselves as the open source alternative to Firebase, and so trying to kind of build feature parity, at least some of the core products that exist within Firebase, but offering it in a relational database world, which kind of unlocks some other opportunities. And so now it's more like we're sort of, I think maybe we still have that tagline on the website, but we're sort of moving away from it a little bit, and just being a collection of tools that wrap around a Postgres database and really just try to kind of surface of the cool stuff that Postgres gives you out of the box, that a lot of people aren't aware of, just because sometimes learning SQL is a little bit daunting and a little bit sometimes some of the resources are a little bit antiquated, and it doesn't seem as fun as some of the new shiny things.
For sure, yeah.
So Supabase is one of the new shiny things.
and hey, we're in front end dev. We love new shiny things. I'm interested though, because I wasn't expecting you to tell me that it was Postgres under the hood. I thought, because I've heard that it's the open source alternative to Firebase, I was expecting more of a Mongo, like a document store, versus a relational database. So that's really interesting to me. Does that mean like so Supabase is an open source tool. So does that mean that I can get any Postgres database that I have and I can stand up Supabase on top of it? Or are they kind of linked like that?
Yeah, so you can install your own local instance of the entire Supabase stack. So we've open sourced all of the different pieces. So you can grab just auth, or you can grab just real time, or we've just recently open sourced the dashboard. So you can use the dashboard standalone with your own Postgres instance that you want to host anywhere. But what we also offer is a hosted environment where you can just create an account. That's what we'll be looking at today. Create an account and really easily get up and running with a Postgres instance that's all been configured for you with auth, databases, real time, and authorization kind of ready to go out of the box.
Got it. Okay, that's really cool. So maybe one thing that would be worth talking about here is just sometimes when you see a tool talk about like, I'm going to do everything, you fall into a little bit of a like, well, we do everything, but not very well. And judging by the chatter that I've heard on Twitter, that doesn't seem to be the case with Supabase. Why am I'm not going to be able to stop doing that today. I'm so sorry to everyone. But with Supabase, it seems like people really like the way that these are blended together. So what do you think is the secret sauce there? Like, what makes that work well together versus feeling like kind of disjointed pieces that are bolted together at varying levels of success?
So I think this is why we kind of shifted our focus a little bit, because initially we were trying to just, I think, build too much. Like, we were trying to solve all of the problems that Firebase solves. And then when we realized we were kind of starting to grow, or starting to focus on things when the kind of core offering probably needed a little bit more of our attention, that's when we started really focusing on this integration between those different services. And so today we'll be looking at implementing auth and a hosted database, and then we'll see how easy it is to then tie that into our authorization rules, which we're also going to write in the database. But because we're doing all of those things within this kind of Supabase ecosystem, because we authenticate with Supabase and then our data is stored with Supabase, it means that we can do some really powerful things, because inside our SQL, we can actually know who the user is that's requesting that data. And so that kind of really tight integration between those things is, I think, what Supabase offers, and what we definitely want to keep focusing on is every time we release something, it's like, how does that fit into the rest of this kind of environment, or this model where everything's interconnected and can talk to each other. Sure.
Yeah. That is kind of an interesting way to look at it, because I think, the trick is that I think everybody needs to solve a set of problems, and everybody's unique set of problems is always a little bit different. But inside that unique set of problems are a huge number of heavily overlapping pieces. Almost every app is going to have a way to have somebody sign in. You're almost always going to have a way to have permissions management. You usually, as an app gets more complex, need a way to have more granular controls, like you've got authors versus commenters versus editors versus admins. And all of those things, they're not that different, right? At the end of the day, like, you just need to be able to say, okay, you're an admin, you can do whatever you want. You're an editor, you can edit anybody's post, but you can't delete them. You're an author, you can only work on your own stuff. You're a commenter, you can only have opinions. Like, there's a really, that doesn't change much from app to app, right? And I think that as a developer, usually what I get stuck on is when I have to build something that already exists, and I can feel the gap between my ability to implement it extremely well and what I know is possible by looking at, like, well-developed systems. If I log into Google Docs or systems that have done this well, like, Sanity or something, where they've got great presence APIs, I can see people in there, I'm like, and then I'm trying to roll my own, and I'm like, I guess I can put a hash password in a database and maybe attach that to I don't know how that works. So then I'm kind of caught in this trap where I can't build the thing that I know should exist because it's not my area of expertise. And this is before I even get to building my app. I'm like mired down in the frustration of trying to build boilerplate. And so what I find really exciting about tools like Supabase and others in the ecosystem is that it feels like what's happening is more and more of the stuff that's the same for 95% of apps is being turned into really highly focused and extremely easy to use services. And I just get to say,
Totally.
that piece is done. Here, like, here's my credit card. I am finished thinking about this forever.
Yeah. And you won't even have to give us your credit card that early. Like, the free tier is very, very generous. But that's exactly the point, is give you the tools that you need to accomplish what every application needs. Every application, a lot of applications need authentication, they need authorization, they need a database to store stuff. So why don't we give you that at the click of a couple of buttons, and then allow you to actually focus on the thing that makes your product unique, the thing that you actually want to build.
So we're talking about authentication, we're talking about the data storage, and then the other piece, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the other piece that it feels like we touched on but didn't really dig into is real time. Having real time features in any service is really nice. Like, it's very cool when I don't have to reload the page to see new comments come in, or to see a like button tick up, or any of those sorts, to see new posts come onto the page. And Supabase has that kind of baked in from the get-go, right?
Yeah, that's right. And so you can enable real time on any of your tables, and then you can subscribe to the different kind of events that happen in the database. So we give you that kind of granular control where you can subscribe directly to, like, just insert events. So something like comments, you might just care about new comments that are coming in, or you might want to subscribe to insert and update comments. So as someone changes it and you're live on the page, you see it updated. And so, Supabase gives you that kind of granular control to subscribe to particular tables. So if you only care about the comments that are coming in on a post, you don't care about, like, if you're focused on one post, you don't care about an author authoring another post somewhere else. Like, you can't even see that on your page. So you only care about the comments that are being written for that particular post that you're looking at. And what I was talking about before, with all of these different pieces kind of being integrated into this Supabase environment, is that we now have just recently, late last year, we launched an update to real time, which now makes it adhere to those authorization rules that we were talking about. And so you don't need to think about from when you're subscribing to events, like, should this person actually know that this thing changed in the database? Because it enforces those authorization rules, they'll only see the things that they're meant to see, the things that you've...
That's really cool. I mean, that's really nice. So this is the sort of stuff that I've been building apps for a long time, and I remember back in it was the early 2000s or mid 2000s, I was trying to build out basic CMSs for clients. I was running an agency at the time, And I always wanted to have that type of functionality where I could say like, hey, you got a draft submitted by one of your freelancers. I want to just send you an email or something like that. And I kept finding myself in these scenarios where I would see something I wanted to exist, and then I would look around and all I could find was somebody had like roughly documented sort of how it worked in another system. And so I'm like, oh no, I got to go build this all myself. And I never did. Like I always would get a prototype and it wouldn't work very well, and I would get overwhelmed and I would quit. And so what I find really exciting about this is like, how much of an expert do I need to be in real time, in database administration, or any of these things that were really the blockers for me? I didn't have the deep backend expertise. I wasn't a database architect. I didn't have like true real time understanding. So how much do I need to know to use a tool like Supabase?
Yeah, very, very little. And yeah, that's kind of the point of kind of enabling all of the cool things that Postgres gives you, but in a much nicer, easier, less scary way. And so a lot of Supabase, you can just click around the UI and really achieve some pretty complex things. And so yeah, you don't need to be like a DBA just to be able to build your application. You can very quickly create this quite complex kind of backend and then just focus on what you want to build for your actual product.
I love that, because I'll tell you what, John, if there's one thing that I'm really good at, it's knowing very little. I'm ready. Okay. So I think that feels like a pretty solid overview. I get the sense that Supabase is suitable for beginners. Would you agree? Like if you're capable of building a front end, you can plug into Supabase and start trying to build some things.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything else that somebody who's like cautious about getting into databases, real-time authentication, anything you want to assure them about, or just, I guess, anything you want them to know if they're either being intimidated by it or feeling like maybe it's not for them?
Yeah, well, I think something that is really unique about Supabase is that because it is just wrapping around a Postgres database, like it's a collection of tools that make it really easy to get up and running with that Postgres instance. But then that Postgres instance is just Postgres. And so you can use any other tools with that. Like you could use Prisma if you prefer to use Prisma and write migrations and things like that. Then it's really, really simple to just just connect to the Supabase Postgres instance using your connection string. If you decide that you want to take it completely outside of the Supabase ecosystem, you can just do like a dump of your entire database and just put that somewhere else. And so, yeah, I think that kind of portability is something that you definitely don't get with some of the other tools in that space.
And that's interesting too, because when you think about Postgres, I mean, Postgres is probably one of the most battle-hardened database tools out there. Like everybody's using Postgres. Like if you dig deep enough, everybody's got a Postgres database in production at every single scale, right? And that, I think, that's a really good sign. You know, I feel like a lot of times when you go to push a new tool, you're like, hey, I found this tool. It's going to make our lives really easy. And the first question you get is like, is it production ready? Like what's going to happen if we become a unicorn and we've got hundreds of thousands or millions of users? Like, is it actually going to function? And I mean, when you're looking at Postgres, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, it's gonna.
Yeah, totally. And not just if your thing happens to be super successful, but also if Supabase happens to not be successful at all and entirely fold, like it's not trapped in some proprietary system that like you haven't needed to learn a particular flavor of SQL or a particular flavor of a way to do your database administration. You can just take that database, put it anywhere else.
Oh, that's a really good point. There's a question about coupling your database schema tightly to client code. Do you find that is that like baked into Supabase, or is that more of a design decision you can make as you kind of build out your apps? Or do you even think about your DB schema as part of building out apps with Supabase?
So it's sort of like a similar architecture to what you would see with a lot of CMSs and a lot of hosted databases, where your database schema and your all of your authorization rules and all of those things are in Supabase, but that's a completely separate system from your client application.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we'll be building today will just be a Next.js application that will be using the Supabase JS client library to talk to our Supabase instance. But you could just be doing it with like REST HTTP requests, or like the Supabase JS library gives us some nice conveniences. But this is just that same kind of architecture that you're used to, where you have this API talking to a database, and that's separate from your client application. So you still write your client application as a completely separate thing. You're just all of the kind of databasey hosted backend stuff is taken care for you.
Got it. Yeah. And yes, I am very excited to see the Australian and New Zealand crowds showing up tonight. Welcome everybody. Glad you could make it. I hadn't really considered doing a later show, but maybe this is something we need to do. Get a little more global time zone friendly. If you're into that, tweet at me. Let me know. But okay, so
I can come on every week, Jason. It's fine.
I'm ready. Okay, so I think at this point probably makes the most sense to just start looking at this thing in action. So let's head over and move into our pair programming view, and we'll do that. So everybody hang tight. Here we go. All right. So we are now. You gonna load? What are you doing? Come on, overlay. Hold, please.
I'm seeing an overlay. I'm seeing. Oh,
yeah,
wait,
it's,
no, yeah.
It's like
okay.
goofy. It's not. It didn't get the data. There it is. All right, there's our data. But okay, so here we are. Before we start building things, let's do a quick shout out to the sponsors in captioning. We have Amanda from White Coat Captioning here with us today, doing the live captioning. That is on the homepage of the site at learnwithjason.dev. Thank you so much for being here. And that is made possible through the support of our sponsors, Netlify, Fauna, and Auth0, all kicking in to make the show more accessible to more people, which I very much appreciate. And hey, we're on the hunt for new sponsors in 22. So if your company looks like they maybe want to sponsor a show like Learn with Jason, maybe drop me a little DM, huh? And make sure you click on those logos to go check these companies out. They're all clickable, so you can go learn things. And we're talking to John Myers today. You can go and give him a follow on Twitter. And this is a new handle for you, right? Like you
yes.
just did the shift. I got real confused.
Sorry about that. I broke the internet when I went and changed my Twitter handle. Didn't realize how many things were pointing to it, but I basically spent months regretting the decision.
Just nothing but regret. I mean, that's a pretty good standard state of being on Twitter, I think. Just constant regret. We're working with Supabase. So over at supabase.com, you can find out all the details about how that works and all those things. I'm going to skip all the tutorials and docs and instead just make John tell me things. And then we also, we'll talk about that stuff later, what we're going to build it with. So if we want to get started, what's our first step? What do I want to do first?
Well, it sounds like we want to start your project.
I do indeed want to start my project.
Oh, look at that. Beautiful.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And then we can sign in with GitHub. So as you authenticate with GitHub and authorize Supabase to have access to everything. No, it's very little.
Just the email. I always love that.
Yeah. So we're just using this for authentication. So we don't care about your actual GitHub projects or anything. It's just we're using, I think it's now, I'm pretty sure this is now using Supabase Auth. I think that was a recent change we made. We were actually using Auth0 and everyone called us out on like, hey, you say you're an auth provider. You say you can do authentication and authorization for all of these apps. Why don't you do it for yours? So yes, we've done that now. We now, I'm pretty sure, are using our own dog fooding everything now. So this dashboard and everything is Supabase. So now we can click new project.
Okay. I have an org.
Yeah.
I do not have permission.
Only the organization owner. You just.
Oh no.
This might be a really, really short stream, Jason. Maybe just refresh again and see if
team. Now I'm the owner. Okay, let's go to projects. Okay. I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to refresh the page.
Oh God.
Hey, all right, here we
Hey,
go.
all
Looks like
right.
it just
So if
something
you
got
hit
out of
that,
sync
just
there.
make
All
sure
good.
you refresh. Cool. So this can be the name of our project. So
What are we gonna build
You
today?
can call this anything you want. We're going to build a blog, and so a nice simple blog with comments just to kind of show off all of those different pieces.
Got
And then
it.
the database password. So you want this to be a very secure password, as this will be used as your actual Postgres
All right.
database
Let me
password.
generate one over here. Then I'm gonna do
Good
a let's see, LWJ. Okay. Got a password. Is this going to be all right? It's hidden. Good. Um,
You've done
password
this
is
before, I see. So
Is
now we
there
can pick a
an
region.
ideal location?
So this is just sort of, I guess, the best practice is to try and pick somewhere that's as close to your users as possible. But in this case, if we're just building like a demo application, probably just as close to you as we can. And then the pricing plan. So if you want to drop that down, we can change that to the free tier. So the free tier will give you 2 projects. There is a pricing page somewhere that shows you a whole bunch of stuff, but yeah, it's very unlikely that you will hit the top of the free tier.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Here you go.
So dedicated database, that's already very cool. Unlimited API requests, cool. Real time, very cool. So if you get to the point where you need things like database space, optimized instances, automatic backups.
Yeah. So we give you 500 meg of database storage, which is a surprising amount of text if you want to put a whole bunch of text. But we also do file storage. So that's something that we haven't really talked about. That's that object storage there.
Got it.
Which we probably won't go into today, but then you also get, I think it's a gig or something on the free plan. And
nice.
Yeah.
Up
But
to
the
a gigabyte.
hosted dedicated instance and the unlimited API requests
That's
are
big.
2 things that I think, make it not very likely you're going to hit this with your hobby project.
All right. So it looks like it created a public key and a secret key.
So if you just scroll back up, the little orange text up the top is just saying that we're going off and creating all of these things. So as I said, we've got a database instance that's been created for you. It's setting up all of the initial auth stuff, all of the authorization stuff, a real-time server. It's a little bit of infrastructure that it needs to scale up. So while we're doing that, we can go and start creating our Next.js application.
Okay, so we're going to be using Next.js. I'll let you tell me what I want to do here.
Yeah, sure. So let's go npx, so we can run this package directly from npm, and it's going to be the create-next-app package. And so this is just a fast way to get up and running with Next.js. Okay. Do you have any preferences for things? As in, I guess this will step us through it. So we can call it whatever you'd like.
Call it a Supabase blog. And It installed React DOM, and Next.
I think from playing around with the project yesterday, I think the default is now that it uses TypeScript. I think if you let's work it out. Let's go code.
Let's see if I'm gonna have to remember how TypeScript works.
Yeah, see, this is exactly what I was. Oh, nice.
Nope,
yes,
no
beautiful.
TypeScript.
JavaScript.
All right. Okay.
All right. We're good.
We dodged a bullet.
We're both ready for this now.
One of these days, I'm gonna have to actually learn TypeScript so that I can function.
Yeah, same. So we could just get rid of everything other than the outside enclosing div, I reckon. Let's just keep a little bit of those nice styles and get rid of all of that and just, let's say, just working or something. Put something on the page so we can test that it's all, we haven't broken anything yet.
All right, so we've got a basic thing going. I'm gonna run Netlify dev, which I think will just work. Let's make sure that it all does what I want. There we go. Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Microsoft. Okay, cool. I was thinking.
Sorry, I use Edge, and I haven't done the blank tab thing, so it gives me the branding when I do that.
Okay. Right. Okay. So we have an Next.js application that's working. That's pretty good. So we probably want to. Why don't we check how our Supabase instance is going. Is that all finished creating? It is. It's done creating the things. And so, yeah, you'll see now we have database, we have auth, we have file storage, a whole bunch of stuff. And we have our API keys, which we can probably, come back to in a second.
Okay.
So on the left, you have a whole bunch of different menus. And so different things that we can do. Should we just go through a quick
Let's do a
quick
tour
where we might find things. All right. So the table editor is where we're going to actually, we can start there and actually create some tables if you want. So let's create a new table and let's call this one posts, all lowercase, just for a convention for Postgres-y things. We're going to leave row level security off for now, just so we can see the difference when we actually flip it on. But just as a little bit of foreshadowing, row level security is how we can implement authorization in our Supabase database. And so we want a title, and we'll make this one text.
We don't need a default value. It doesn't need to be primary.
Don't need a default value. But we could make let's make an is_published column, which can be a Boolean or a bool, I think is.
I go right past it.
Booled in Supabase land.
Bool all the way down to the bottom there. All right. And the default there would be false.
Correct. Okay. And then maybe we'll make a content one as well. So we've got a title that we can display on our landing page of a list of different blogs. And then when we go to our blog,
here's a question.
Show the content. Yeah.
What's the difference between text and varchar?
He's going to do it. He's going to do it to me. All right. Going to make me explain the database things. Varchar, I think or maybe varchar. I don't actually know the correct pronunciation. In university, it was pronounced to me as varchar, and it gives you. I don't think it does in the UI for Supabase, but it gives you the opportunity to specify exactly how many characters the maximum for that column is going to be. And so you could say varchar 5, and then the length of the thing that's going to be stored in that field can only be up to 5 characters. So it used to be really important when database storage was expensive and, we were trying to keep things as small as possible. But now we don't care. We just cloud everything. We're all good. We got all the all the bandwidth we need and all the storage we need. We're using Supabase now. It's their problem. And so we can just do text, which allows us to, I'm sure there's a maximum to what text will store, but it's incredibly large and is just a variable size field.
Great. Okay. Do we need anything else?
No, I don't think so. I think that's all we need for this. So if you click save, that's going to go and create that table and then create our columns. And in a moment, we will be able to see our posts, surely.
And
it's a simple
Junkaram
border break. That's what this is for.
It's short for varying character, which is, that makes sense. I buy that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we've got this thing up here. Row level security is not enabled.
Yeah, we'll ignore that for now. So we can insert a row while we're here. We could add a blog post directly from here. So we can leave the ID and the created out there automatically generated for us. We can add a title for what we actually want to display. And some content. Perfect. I love it.
Should we publish it?
Let's leave it unpublished for now. Okay. So let's just leave it as the default value. So you can get rid of what's in there if the default value is false, or you can add false. Either way. Cool. So we now have a post. And then why don't we add one more post just so we can see the difference between a published and an unpublished post.
Okay.
You're going to have to come up with another joke.
Oh, no.
Can you do it on the fly?
Oh, God. Okay. I got nothing.
You prepared one. You had one.
Yeah. I was going to write a post about pizza, but it was too cheesy. Okay. All right. This one's published.
Awesome. Sure.
All right. So we've got one published, one unpublished.
Yeah. And then, we could either keep going through it. Well, how about we just jump to one of the very helpful things that that you may want to look at if you're coming to Supabase as a first timer. If you look in the side panel towards the bottom for API.
API.
Yep, that's the one. This is auto-generated documentation for your Supabase instance. And so if you want to do something like get all of the posts, and you'll see that we just created this posts table.
This is already like, this is, I can publish this publicly as well and say like, I've got an API, here's my documentation for it.
Actually, I don't think you can make this part public, but this is your personal documentation for anything that you create within your Supabase instance. It will automatically generate this documentation for you as you're building it out. So as you add new columns, as you add new tables, this documentation is automatically being maintained for you internally. But yes, it would be very cool. It's an interesting point that you like if you could make this your actual, if you're building like a developer facing app or something like that, if you could
right, like if I want to, like a good example is I put all the Learn with Jason episodes into a database, and that goes on learnwithjason.dev, but then I also have an API where you can go /API/episodes and get all my episodes as JSON, and it would be pretty cool if I could just link people to actual API docs, because right now the API docs are, you got to look at my source code and realize that I have serverless functions that'll give you a JSON blob if you query them, right? Like, so it's very very high tech here. But yeah, this is, I mean, even internally, this is huge because we spend so much time as developers chasing down documentation or getting stuck because the documentation drifted out of date. So knowing that it's generated from the database schema directly and that it's kind of automatically maintained in the background that's a big confidence booster, I think, in the quality of an API. And that's like one of the key value props of GraphQL, right? And it looks like you're bringing that to a non-GraphQL use case.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, just like getting started, exactly what you're talking about, that kind of discoverability side of it, just being able to, like, GraphQL just makes it so easy to be able to just kind of pour through like, what is available to me? What can I do? And so, yeah, having that automatically generated, and you're right, it's kind of protected from that, from doc drift, because it's anytime you change anything, it goes and regenerates your documentation for you. Cool. So this is just, I'll probably just tell you what to do anyway, but if you did want to come back and find things later, if you wanted to take it any further, this is a really good place to come and investigate. All right, let's go back to your Next.js application and let's get those posts displaying in your app.
Okay, back to my application, which is here. I am going to, we probably want to get static props. Yeah. So this will be how we'll, let's do that. Get static props. And if I remember correctly, to do that, we have to return an object that has props. And that's going to be whatever we want it to be. And we probably want one that's posts, which should be an array. Okay. So that's the default.
Absolutely. And then that comes in as props. Comes in, you want to destructure posts, not props.
Posts. That's right. Okay, so here's my posts. And then I'm going to stringify posts.
He's going to use the trick. It's so good.
My favorite debugging trick. And then we'll head back out here. And what should happen is, maybe I need to reload.
You'll just need to refresh.
Here we go. All right.
Yeah.
Right, because we added a get static props, so we had to tell it to get the thingy.
Yeah. So it has to go and run the servery server stuff. Cool. So let's get those posts. So let's maybe create a different utils file for Supabase, just because we'll probably need to use it across a lot of places in our application. So let's create a new folder called, I always go utils, but some people like lib.
It doesn't matter. I've never cared. So utils, and then you want to name the file
and
Supabase.
Then Supabase.js,
Okay.
Easy. And then in here, we want to, we can firstly import, we need to install the Supabase.js library. That's probably going to help us. So if we go back over to your terminal, and then...
Look, I learned a thing that blew my mind. It's not going to work because I have to restart the server once we install the thing. Okay, let me show you the thing. Okay, look, I hit Control Z, and it suspends the running process, right? Now I can do a thing. I can do whatever I want in here. And then when I'm ready, I can type FG and it just keeps going.
That's amazing.
Blew my freaking mind. Like so many times I've needed to just like delete a file or like check a value and it doesn't affect the running process. And I have to stop it and then I have to wait for it to boot up again. And I saw
when
Sean
you continue,
Grove
it would pick up. It would like pick up the changes, right? Like as in, even if you quit it for a second, installed a package, and then continued
it wouldn't
like
pick
it would
up
just
the
keep going.
package changes. Actually, you know what? We're gonna learn together. Let's try. I'm gonna start it.
Yeah.
and then we'll suspend it. Okay, so here it goes. It's running. All right. I'm gonna, and just to make sure that that's doing what we want, I'm going to come out here. Add another. Okay, so it's working, right? So I'm gonna suspend it.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna npm install. What's the Supabase package called?
It is at Supabase /Supabase-JS.
Okay. Anything else that I'll need?
Yeah. Nah.
Okay.
Not right now. I don't think we'll need anything else.
Okay. So now I'm going to resume the process. So we continued Netlify dev. And if I come back in here and I save, we're now hot reloading again, right? So this is magic.
Yeah.
Now let's see if the real magic works. I'm going to try to import the package that we just installed and see if it doesn't explode. So it's Supabase.
So it'll be destructuring, as in importing a named export.
Okay.
So brackets and then create client. Create
client.
It looks like I may have picked it up from at Supabase.
There we go. All right.
And then, well, yeah, actually we could, we'll need to store stuff in an environment variable. We can test this as working before we need to do that. So we can say export default and then call that create client function.
Okay.
And then this is a function that takes two string values. So it takes our URL and our Supabase key.
Okay. So the API key I need, so we will have to stop and restart the server for that so that we can get it to pick up environment variables. Is it the public API key though?
So this is the cool thing about Supabase is that when we have row level security enabled, we can actually expose our API key, our anonymous key, to look at that dab, to the to the front end, and that's completely safe. But these little hackers you have watching your stream right now, before we enable row level security,
go and make a mess. I know.
Could go and all right. So let's just do process.env. So with the URL, let's replace that with process.env.
And we'll call it Supabase API key, right?
Yep. And we can actually expose this to the front end. So it'll be next _public _. We just won't put the value in there on screen.
Got next public. Okay. And so the next public prefix means anything that we prefix with this will actually get put into the public bundle. So just for anybody who's not familiar with this convention, by doing this, we are exposing this. So never ever do this for anything that has to stay secret. Because if you put the next public in front, it's going to show up in your JavaScript bundle. Anybody who inspects it can find it and they'll make a mess. Also, welcome Anthony and everybody who came along. Good to see you. I'm super excited to see everybody here. And like Aiden is watching live, who Aiden is part of the team that helps keep Learn with Jason on the Rails, and he's in New Zealand, so he never gets to watch live. So it's actually this is fun. This is fun. We got firsts all over the place today. That's awesome. What should my URL be?
So your URL, we can do the same thing. We can just say process.env.next _public _Supabase _URL.
So next public _Supabase
URL.
Got it. All right. And then we're going to break this so that we can read it. Actually, it should, it'll auto format.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on. Who's manually doing formatting these days? Come
on. Okay. So we've got this. It's doing what we want. All right. Now I need to set these.
Yes. So because you're using Netlify Dev, you can just do that directly, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's very cool.
Oh wait,
next _.
I'm gonna copy paste so that I don't have to type this multiple times. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is then copy paste this.
So this comes from settings. Oh yeah, you can do it directly
Here?
from here. Yeah. So you've got this. Yep. And
Where'd you go? Come back.
what happened?
Come
there?
back.
Oh, scroll down again.
Oh no, did it run away?
Oh, it's
I think
gone forever.
something might have
You've deleted your key. It's done. No settings
it's
and
over.
then
All right, so I need this one.
API. Yep.
Okay. Now I'm not going to paste this now because I don't trust you hackers.
Oh, sorry, that's your URL. That's your anon key.
Right.
You want
You're right. You're right.
URL, which is just slightly down if you scroll down in the
You
Supabase
hackers, you dirty hackers.
Damn right, you hackers. Okay. So I got my URL. Now can this one be shown?
Yeah, this one can be shown.
So let's show you how this works. So this is the Netlify CLI. I did env::set and then the name of the URL or the name of the environment variable and then the value.
Yep.
And it will not do anything because we didn't set up a site yet. That's right. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to first get the site set up and then we've got all this stuff that we need to do. So I'm going to git add everything. And we'll get commit and say, work in progress, setting up a Supabase powered blog. And then I'm going to GitHub repo create, and we'll create learn with Jason Supabase blog. All right, it's going to be a public
Seems like
repo.
Maybe you've done this before, maybe just once or twice.
And I mean, it's honestly, it's so nice to have this GitHub CLI and the Netlify CLI because we can do it all from right here. So then what I can do is git push. I'm going to do the -u to set the upstream, and we'll do origin main. And that's going to push everything up to GitHub. And so now, if this opens to the right thing, here we go. This is here is our GitHub. So you can go check this out. This is the work in progress. We'll push all the changes there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to netlify init. Now I broke something in my GitHub config, so this might explode and I might have to set it up manually, but I'm going to try this anyways. So we're going to set up a new site here, and we're going to call this Supabase blog, and it auto detects all the next stuff. Good.
God, it's just so nice.
And let's see.
Netlify is
my
amazing.
GitHub setup is still wrong. So I'm going to go set this up, the rest of this up manually here. So the details are all in place. I just have to hook up the Git part. So I'm going to go to site settings, build and deploy, and then I got a link to Git. And I need to log out of Git and then try this again to fix it. But we'll get there. Don't worry.
It's so nice using the setting environment variables directly through Netlify thing because we're using Netlify dev. That's awesome. Yeah, it's just something that I never think to do, but it just makes a huge difference because it takes away that step where you deploy, you push all your changes, you deploy, and then you get the error that you haven't set the environment variables for the thing that you were working on, and then you have to go to the instance, set the environment variables. Takes away that whole problem.
Okay,
it's awesome.
So now that we've done this, I'm going to run this Netlify mset. And it says it set the thing, and then we can check it with env::list, and this will show us our environment variables. And then if we wanted to show them, we can hit the yes, and it'll show us that they're there. And then if I go back out here to the site settings and build and deploy an environment, I got to refresh the page. We can see that it showed up here. So the next thing then is we want to do that same process, env::set, and I'm going to go copy this one, and then I'm going to go back here, copy this one.
Yep.
Okay.
So you can't see all of it there, so it's fine, but you probably want to take this off screen.
Yeah, I'm going to take this off screen.
Just to clarify though, this is something that you can, it's only because we don't trust you. It's not, it's not because you shouldn't expose this to the front end. We just haven't clicked the little button that makes it safe because if we could trust you to be fine, we could just put it on the screen, but we can't.
Chad, it's not that this is a problem, it's that you're the problem.
Exactly. Yeah. It's you. It's not me, it's you. This is entirely safe to put in the front end once you have row level security enabled, which is something that we're going to do in a moment. But just at this point, putting that in your front end would allow people to write to your database, do whatever they want. Just know it is okay to expose this in your front end once you have row level security enabled.
Right. And so what we've done here is we've set the value, and we are it's now functional. So when I run Netlify dev, it will pull in those environment variables for us, and this will also now be available when we deploy. So this is running. We're in good shape here. Let me get in here. And so I have a client now, but we aren't doing anything with it. So I'm going to make the assumption that I want my client.
Yeah, you want to pull it in. Import. Yeah.
Utils. Supabase. Got it.
Perfect.
All right.
Yep. And then we want to request our data. So we can say Supabase. So this will be an async thing. So we'll need to make our get static props an async function.
Async function. Got it. So
and then we can say
const await. And
Supabase.
Should I call this Supabase?
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Supabase dot.
And then we do dot from, and so this is where we can. Yeah, we've got some helpful little.
Okay. All right. Let's see if I can do it.
All right.
Okay. So I did Supabase dot from, and then when I got in here, it said from the table. Okay, that's a string. So I'm going to put in the name of the string. Then I'm going to do a dot, and it says here's select. That makes okay.
Oh, look at you go!
And column string head count.
Oh, that's a little less fun, isn't it?
What if I do this?
So this is also. Oh, look at him! Oh, wow. Are you sure you didn't try Supabase before this?
I'm using what little knowledge I have of SQL, because when you do like MySQL, Postgres, you do select star from table, right? So I'm seeing we're doing a from, we're selecting, and then this is my guess at all. But this is actually the end of my guesses here, because I don't know what happens next. Is this everything?
All right. Almost. So just the posts, we would destructure the data that comes back. So we could make that curly brackets and just do data, and then we could still do colon posts, and then that's going to rename it as posts directly.
And then do we get an error or anything?
We do get an error.
Okay.
Yeah. If you wanna be that negative, that pessimistic, we can also do it properly and look at errors and things.
So we can do something like that, and this is just like basic defensive programming. Make sure that if you get an error, you don't end up with one of those really confusing uncaught exceptions. You instead get what the tool said, which is I've found that a lot of my debugging pain comes from having not done this, where I'm like, it'll work, and if it doesn't work, I'll get an error, and then the error is like uncaught exception, 0 additional information. It's like, great, that's going to be fun to debug. So then if looking at this,
a developer put in the work to actually send us a proper error, we should do them do them proud by actually reading what the error message is. And so now we have our post, and now if we go back to everything should be fine. We should just need to refresh.
Ayo, look how fast that happened, everybody. I mean, and this is
beautiful.
Custom database, we set up environment variables, and this is all like deployable right now. I'm not going to deploy it just yet because we haven't locked down the rows or anything, but this is good. We're done. We got the environment variables in place. We got a site set up. It can all go to production right now. It's totally a beautiful site.
it's so beautiful. And so let's do that. Let's lock down those tables, and so we can publish it places.
So I'm going to go back to table editor.
Yeah, so you can click it directly from here. If you select posts, then up the top you've got RLS. The other way to get to it is to go through authorization and then policies, which is where this has taken you.
Got it.
And then we want to enable RLS. So what row level security does is it just locks down every action by default. And so it just says, I'm going to automatically deny every request that I get, any select request, update request, insert request, delete request.
Nothing.
Yes. So now we go back. If it doesn't fail, it just goes back to an empty array, because it's not that you don't have, it's not that you're doing something wrong here. It's just that you don't have the authority to see those posts anymore. And so if we want to enable that, so you're not getting an error saying you're not authorized or anything, because that's not the case. It's just that you don't have the authorization to see any of those rows at the moment. So if we want to write a rule to allow you to actually see some of those rows, then we need to create a policy.
Okay,
so let's go new policy.
Click new policy.
Yeah. And then we can create a policy from a template. I'll just show you what this looks like. If you click there, we have a couple of like pre-filled templates that cover, those basic use cases. And so you don't need to get overwhelmed with having to write a policy that you're not familiar with. And so we have the ability to give read access to everyone, the ability to just do authenticated users. And if you click on any of those, it'll show you on the right what the kind of generated stuff is. But it still looks, slightly scary. And
yeah, this is very SQL-y.
Yeah, it's very SQL-y. So let's just go back. And
okay.
In the top left, there's a little back arrow, and let's just create a policy from scratch.
Okay.
So
my policy
this is really all we're doing.
So what I want is like I want people to be able to read the title, date, and I guess we can let them read everything in this database, don't we?
So a row level policy is the entire row. So we either enable or disable the whole row. And so we can't do it column by column, which is where your mind went just then, where it's like, if we want to just enable the read access for this particular column, then we can just do that column.
Okay.
Can't do that with the row level security, but what you can do, because we now have a relational database, is you can put that kind of private stuff in another table and just set up a relationship between those two. Anyway, we're not going to go that deep here, but I'll give a plug for an Egghead course that I've recently created at the end of this, and that definitely steps through that use case.
Okay.
Let's think, what is the actual rule that we want here? We don't want everyone to see. So just imagine someone's coming to this this list of blogs. Which blogs would we like them to see?
Oh, we want them to see the published ones. So
exactly.
Is it just like a where is published?
Don't even have to do a where. No, don't even need to go that. But yeah, you're right. With the is published equals true. That's the rule.
All?
That's all we care about. So we just go review, and then that is going to show you what that turns into. So that's the actual SQL. And so this is something else that we try to do is kind of like, educate you a little bit along the way as to like, we don't want to just completely abstract like, oh, don't worry about the SQL. We'll worry about the SQL. You don't need to know SQL. We like to kind of give people, or we like to have the opportunity to teach people a little bit about. Yeah, like it's already working. It's amazing, and so yeah, like we want to show you as much as we can along the way to see kind of like what the Supabase tool is abstracting away from you and making it a little bit easier. But also, like if you wanted to do this, you can do it. And so, yeah, if you enable that one, we go back, refresh.
Ta-da!
Yeah,
that's really slick.
Yeah, and so since this is just a wrapper around SQL, on the left we actually have an SQL editor. If you go, I think it's about halfway down.
Yeah,
that one. And from here we can create a new query. So again, we've got some templates if you want to look at some cool stuff. But yeah, if we click new query, we just get once it's done its thing. This is just a portal into our database. So yeah, you know your SQL.
I know that much SQL. Let's see if I can do it.
Select query. That's about all I know as well. It's fine.
Hey, I wrote SQL.
And so this is like, I don't want to say there are no limitations on it. I'm sure you're still logged in as a particular user of this Supabase instance. And so there'll be certain things that you might not have permission to do. But this is basically just a
whatever you have permission to do as a Postgres user, you have permission to do in this portal here.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So this will bypass all row level security stuff. So like at this point, you're like a much more elevated privileges than the users of your application. Like you're basically a database administrator. So you can insert things, you can update, delete, whatever. You can change the structure. But this SQL editor here is just like, it's just an open portal to your database. And so actually, if you go back to that getting started welcome bit on the left.
Okay. Welcome.
If you scroll down, I think we actually have some quick start like whole databases. So if you look at like, like a Stripe subscriptions, for example, if you click that one, once it loads, if you scroll through this thing, this is just like all the stuff that we give you. And so, we have some templates that you can create some very
it's like setting policies and all that stuff. That's cool. That's very cool. Yeah.
But most of the time, we don't actually need to touch the editor.
I just want to do a quick time check because we got about 20-25 minutes left. And I want to make sure that we get through everything that we wanted to get through because we haven't yet gotten to authentication or real time. And I want to make sure we get to play with both a little bit.
All right. Well, let's quickly create a like a post details page. So let's go to let's create a new page.
Okay, so let's make this out here, and this is going to be like one of these, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's just do ID so we can speed it up a little bit.
Yeah, ID works. Okay, so we'll do
ID and then .js,
and then we're gonna
and then we want to
export static. Oh wait, export async function get static paths. Right.
Well, for this one, because we want to display comments as well, we should probably use get server side props because that's going to
get server side props.
Yeah, because that's going to change regularly. Okay. We could do ISR or DESP or things. Yes.
Okay.
That is the thing.
Got it. All right.
And then we want to say const data, the same as before, destructuring data equals await Supabase. Yep.
You know
this
what?
will just be one post.
How about I just copy paste this out?
That's a great idea.
So I'm gonna copy paste this part out and go in here, and we'll just do one of those. And how about that? All right. So we got one of these.
Cool. So we'll just be getting one post rather than all of our posts. And it will be, so we need to tell it which post we actually want to select. And so star is still fine there. We can still grab all of...
No, not like that.
Almost,
okay.
But not in the select. So
okay.
Something I should have mentioned before, though, is that the select, like you can actually just list the columns here. So star is getting all of the columns, but you could say ID and you could say name or title. And so that kind of... addresses one of those other concerns with GraphQL where you don't want to overfetch things. You just want to specify the bits of data that you care about. You can do that in the select, but we're looking for equals. Yeah. So we need to tell it what we want
column
to equal. So the
ID.
string ID is that's the column. And then the value that we want to match is params.id.
Okay.
Perfect. And then this is going to give us back an array, even though it's only one value. So we can actually chain on a single to the end of our big long request, which is
like
a
that.
function call. Yep. And save that and we'll get some nice formatting and it won't all be, oh no, okay. And then props.
Props. And then the post. Okay.
Yep, singular post. Destructure that out of into our component.
Okay, and then we've got export default post page, and that's going to get out our post. And this is going to return, we'll give it a div, and inside of our div, we'll do an h1 with the post.title, and we'll do a
paragraph with the
post with the dangerously set inner HTML.
We won't be dealing with...
oh, that's right. We don't even need that, do we?
Yeah, it'll just be a string at the moment. But yes, you could store, like if you wanted to build your own markdown-y stuff, you could do that.
It was content, right?
Cool.
Export default function is why that's throwing errors at me. Okay.
Cool.
Good. So this theoretically should work.
Yeah, theoretically.
Let's try it. Let's go look and make sure it's still running. So I'm going to go to /1. No, it doesn't like my...
Object. You might need to be error.message in the... error.message, I think.
What have I done?
And then if we refresh the page, we should see our error.
It doesn't like my error.message. What am I doing wrong here?
Throw new error. Error.message.
Whoops. Let's go in here and maybe let's just try console.log and...
Yeah, just console.log.
Whatever.
That's enough.
What are you yelling at? What is happening? Cannot read.
Reading.
Here's...
Is it not called title? Did we call it?
No, I think something's going wrong with the actual thing.
Yeah. It's not actually getting it in there. Okay.
Requested multiple or no rows returned. So we need to check what is going on with... Oh, wait a minute.
From...
I have... let's log params and see what we're getting here. Our params are... One is a string, which is, I think, the problem. So we need to number Is that going to make you happy? You're still not happy. How dare you?
No, I think it should be fine. You should still be able to pass a string across.
Okay.
Equals
Did I?
dot select.
Is it
dot
not
equals, dot sync.
ID? It is ID.
No, it is ID.
ID is 1. Chat, you seeing something we're
What's
not?
happened here? Await Supabase.
Let me
Dot
log
from
params.id.
Dot select.
Oh, wait. I think that was a good...
Single.
That's the one that's not published. Let's go to 2. Good catch, chat.
Damn RLS, it's already
Goodness.
getting in the way.
That was going to be... But you know what? That, like... Great. That's perfect. So it was telling us that nothing was getting returned. And so good. That's...
Once again, the computers were right. Look at that. It's never me. I'm never the one that's right.
Your audio is working fine, but your face is frozen in like the most judgmental look. It's really...
That's just my face. That's how I look at all code all the time. It's just, you're not doing the right thing.
Good catch, Alistair Young. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so we've got this post going now, and
Let's add some more.
Look how fast it went. All right, let's add some auth.
All right, let's create a login page. So
All
pages
right,
/ login.js.
Okay.
And in here, we want to export out a...
You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this part and copy paste it for time. And
Cool.
we're going to call this login page. And does this need any props or anything?
No, but we will we'll have to deal with forms, which take a while to write in React land. But let's create a form with an input.
Okay, and our input, we'll do a label, HTML4, and that's going to be for the, I'm assuming...
Email?
Okay.
Email, yeah. So for this one, we might just use magic links just so that we don't need to create another password. So out of the box, Supabase supports local email and password, or magic links where we just give it an email. It'll email us a link. We click on that link and we're authenticated. And then if we want to enable third-party authentication, we just need to enable some more stuff in Supabase. But for now, we'll just do our trusty magic link. Okay, cool. So now when we click our submit button, so we can put an on submit on the form and write a handle submit function that'll run when our form submits. And this one is going to be async, and it's going to take an event. Prevent default, that wonderful
All right.
JavaScript-y thing.
And we'll add an on click of, or wait, no, we should do an on submit instead.
On submit on the form. Yeah.
On submit is going to be handle submit. All right.
Yep. And
So
then
now
we
our
can
form will do
we
the
can,
thing.
yeah, we can grab the email now out of our form by saying const email equals event.target.email.value.
Okay.
And now to authenticate with Supabase, we can just say await. Again, if you want to do your proper error handling, you could, but for the sake of speed, we can just say supabase.auth.sign-in, and then sign in, as it will suggest, is camel case. Yep. And then we give it an object, and we just want to pass it our email. And then that should be all we need. And so let's see if it works first before we claim that this is all we need.
All right, let's see what happens. So I'm going to put in jason@langsdorf.com, and if I spell it right.
So it will be one that you actually need to go and check, because the magic link
it.
will go to that. So maybe check it off screen if there are
Let me see if it's
sensitive things in there.
So it did the thing. I'm going to pull my email up over here.
Yeah, we could have also
And-
written some logic to give us some feedback there, but obviously,
So
yeah,
I
mean,
just got an email here that says confirm your mail. So I'm going to confirm.
Yeah.
And it opened up in this browser, which we haven't handled yet. So I'm going to get my
cool.
email
And so now
out of the
if you
way.
open up your console and go to the application
What the heck?
tab.
What is that? No, here. Console.
application, and then go to local storage, I guess, for what we're currently logged in as, and you scroll down. Up. Okay, there's no key in there, but
So it didn't hit our login page. Do we need to have it? Do we need to set up a redirect or anything? Like, do I need to go to login?
Oh no, that should be fine. We should just need to refresh. So if you just go to back to localhost,
I think it's.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm not 100%
call.
sure, but it looks like as soon as I went to login, it did the thing.
Yeah, good call. We did need to go back to there. All right, cool. So now you're logged in. So if we go back to your index page, we could console log out who our user is. So in just to confirm that we are logged in. So the way that we access the user, if you just want to do console log, and then we can say supabase.auth.user, and user is a function, and save, and then refresh and open your console.
No. This one. Open my console, and there
we have a user.
Hey. So that's pretty straightforward. That just did what I wanted. And I can see we've got like roles in here. I imagine that we can get pretty fine grained with those.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Lots of.
And if we were to authenticate with a third-party provider, so like Google or Facebook or GitHub or something like that, then we also get the information that we get back from them. So like what your
that's slick.
username is for GitHub or whatever. Yeah, and so that's how easy auth is. And so now we're authenticated. And so how about we add some comments so that I can also have some fun and write things on your page. Sensible, nice things.
Sensible, nice things, chat.
Yeah. Suitable for work, nice things. Yeah. All right. So let's create, or did you want to quickly?
No, let's do it. I'm ready.
Go through that. All right. Let's go back to Supabase and let's create a comments table.
Okay, got a table. I'm going to create a new one here. And I'm going to call this
we'll call it
comments.
And then what we can, let's do it.
Okay.
We know how RLS works now. So if we add a column, we're going to want a column for, so this is what's going to be called, if you go back to database theory, you don't have to know this, but it's called an intersection table. And so it's, we basically want to give this a relationship with a post. So we want each comment is going to belong to a post and also belong to an author. So we want a post ID, that's right. Before you click that though, we can actually just click that little lock symbol next to the, And this is going to allow us to set up a foreign key relationship with the table that we want. And so we can say that links to the post ID.
Wow,
and now that's been set up in the background for us.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so now let's add a column for user ID.
Okay.
And for this one, it exists on auth.users. So this is like a special table that...
Come on.
And then we change it to ID. This is a special table that Supabase manages for us anytime we log in. And then we want the actual content of our post.
Beautiful.
And now we can save that. And one thing we could have done, if you click the little cog, you can make it... you've got some extra options to make it like not nullable and things like that. But the constraint that's in place now, because it's got a foreign key relationship, will stop it from...
Got it.
Never mind. Forget I said anything. Database. We don't need to worry about it. Okay.
My default stat. You know what? Just let's pretend I wasn't talking. Okay, so I'm going to...
I was rambling.
Do a new policy, and we want to allow...
So firstly, let's just go back to your code and let's see what we would need to modify to actually see this. So let's go the TDD route of let's see that it doesn't work, and then we'll make it work.
Okay.
So if you go to, so this is your statement currently, you're grabbing all of the posts.
Right.
And so you might think, I need to go and create a different statement to go and grab all of my comments.
Literally what I was about to do.
Because we've set up that foreign key relationship between these two, Supabase now knows that the posts have related comments. And so where you've got your select, you're saying select star, you can actually put a comma after the star and tell it any other tables that you would like to select from. So we can say we want to select all from posts, but then comma comments, and then in brackets, we do like rounded brackets, parentheses. Not the squares, the other ones.
Curly, round boys.
round boys, and you tell the round boys what you want to select. So in this case, we can just do star again, and then close your round boys, and then save, and that's it. That's all we need to change. And so now it's grabbing all the posts, and for each of those posts, we're grabbing their associated comments.
Okay, so this didn't do.
Oh, was that on which page did we just do that on? I think we just put that on the index page, didn't we?
No. I did it on the it is on the ID page. Cool. But perfect. We also didn't we didn't log anything, and we're not like dumping anymore. So this makes sense. There's nothing to see, right?
So in our component, let's just why don't we do a pre-tag? Yeah, good call. And then post dot comments.
Oh, dot comments.
Or just the post. We can get the.
I was gonna dump to see what we get. So we get an empty array for comments. Good.
Yeah,
all right.
So this is because we haven't written our policy yet. Yeah.
Well, we also don't have any comments in our database.
Hey, that's a good point. We should probably put a comment or two in there to.
All right. So let me go in here. I'm going to do nope. Comments. Insert a row. Is it going to let me do the thing?
Yep. So you can click. What? So it won't let you actually go and look at the other database, but you can put in if you close that and just put in the number 1.
Or we want 2 is the one that's published so that we can actually use it.
Good call. Yep.
Okay.
So let's go 2 and then click view data, and it will link to on the other one. Yep. And we can see that. Oh, yeah, cool. That's linking to the right post.
Got it. Cool. Okay. Very cool.
Would be nice. I think in the future you will be able to click and navigate through the other table, but at the moment we can't. So now we need to know what your user's ID is. And so
what do we decide? I'm going to get my user ID out of here because we logged it, and that ID is this one, I assume.
Yep, that's the one.
Okay, so I go to here, no quotes.
And just get rid of the quotes. Make sure that links to the user. Click view data.
There's me. Cool. All right.
That looks like the one. Close. And what do you want the comment to be? Awesome. And now if you refresh back in your application, are you expecting to see it, or are you expecting not to see it?
I'm currently expecting not to see it because we got bit by this before when we had turned off our row level security, but we also know how to fix that. So we can go back here.
We do.
And I go to the authentication and policies and new policy. I'll create a new policy and public read all comments, and we want you stumped, don't you? What do we want? So really we would only want to see a comment for a post that is published, right? Oh yeah, that's true.
Like it doesn't make sense for us to, so because this has a relationship to post, we probably want to rely on the policies that we've written for post and enforce them on comments as well. So this will get slightly more scary than the other SQL that we've written, but not really. All right, let's go. Select star from posts. So we can just write a regular select statement and access other tables. And we want that where the let's make it a little bit more specific and say post is published.
Where post?
Oh, actually, no, sorry, because this is selecting all of the posts that are published. What we want to do is we want to say select star from posts where posts dot what am I trying to say here? Post.id. We want to check whether the ID is equal to our comments.post_ID.
Like that?
So yeah, so this rule is going to run for every single row that we're checking whether we can read it or not. And so this statement, select star from posts where post.id equals comments.post_ID, is saying for the current comment that I'm looking at, it has a post ID associated with it. So go and look up in the post table, and then whether we can actually select that or not is based on the rules of the post policy rather than the comments policy. And so now, just before you click review, let's go back for a second. We just got to add one more part to this, which is instead of select, we basically just want to see whether this statement gives us anything back. If it gives us anything back, then we're allowed to see the comment. If it doesn't give us anything back, then we're not allowed to see the comment. And so we need to wrap the whole statement in exists.
Like that?
Yep. And then since we don't this is just a slight silly optimization, but since we don't actually care about the columns that come back, we can just replace the star with a 1. And so it's only going to return us true if it can or false if it can't. So now we're just saying if that exists, then we want to enforce this. If you say review and then save that.
Save.
So really all we're doing is we're just saying, like, since the comments belong to the posts, let's just apply all of the policies that exist on posts. And so that's what that statement does. And so it looks a little bit scary, a little bit gnarly if you're not used to SQL. But now you'll see that we can see all of the comments for the post that is published. And if we were trying to view the post that wasn't published, we were trying to view a particular comment for that.
Right.
We wouldn't be able to see it because the post isn't published.
Cool.
But it just links those two. So now if we wrote a whole bunch more policies about how we want a post to be accessed, all of those policies are going to now flow through to our comments.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to really quickly just add all of this, git commit, and we're going to blog with comments and row level security. Okay, good, push. Now, everybody will be able to see that in a second once it's built, which it should be building right now. We have about
very
5
quickly
minutes.
add real time.
Do you think?
So we can,
let's
real
do
time.
it.
5 minutes. Let's do it. All right. So we want to be able to subscribe to new comments that come in. So on this one, let's bring in use effect.
Okay. React. Okay.
Yeah. And then let's call use effect, pass it a function. And then initially we're just going to do it on mount. So we can just do square brackets, but we'll add some things to that in a second to write things properly. And in there, we want to say const subscription equals, and then we don't need the await. We can just say supabase.from and then the string comments and then .on. And so which events do we want to subscribe to? So you'll see here, we've got those different events. Let's just go insert. And then we can also pass that an arrow function, which we get a payload for.
Is that straight up like that?
Yep. Yep. And then just an arrow function. Let's just console log out what our payload is. And then after all of that, let's do chain on a dot subscribe. So yeah, where that semicolon is, dot subscribe, which is a function call.
And then I bet to unmount, we want to do return subscription dot unsubscribe.
Yeah, almost. We want to, I think we need to, because we need to pass it the subscription we want to unsubscribe from. Yeah, we need it to be an arrow function. And then we just pass it the subscription.
Well, this is the subscription that we created.
Sorry, we want supabase.unsubscribe. Supabase, all right. Supabase.remove subscription.
Remove subscription, and then I want to pass in subscription.
Yeah,
like
the
that.
Subscription that we just created.
Like
and then
that.
get rid of that bit.
Okay.
Cool.
All
Save. And now actually, because we're now relying on Supabase. Yeah.
Here.
Let's just go and look in here.
Why did
it's
you
giving us
fail?
WebSocket errors. That's good. Let's
wait,
refresh. Oh yeah, right.
stopped.
Because we haven't actually told that table that we want to listen to those events.
We also stopped the dev server.
that will also, that doesn't help. But let's go back to Supabase quickly. I'll show you how you enable it for a particular table. So if you go there and then you go to database, and then this is it's a special thing called replication in the database world. And so under replication, you want to click where it says 0 tables. And we want to enable comments.
Got it.
And so now any of those events will now be fed through anything that's subscribing to them. So if you refresh that page, and then you go to your Supabase database and you add in a new, look, you know how to do it. You know how to demo this. Perfect.
All right, let's get a new.
Or the UI might not be super usable.
We can make it work.
Beautiful.
Okay, so I have a new post ID. My post ID is going to be 2. My user ID is still in my clipboard. Hooray!
Oh, look at that.
And now I need do the thing. Come on, first try.
Boom.
Oh,
And it
it's
comes in.
beautiful. And so
now
what we
if
would do
we-
if we had more than 1 minute left is we could create we could use the React use state hook to put our comments in. and we could then monitor for the event to change, update with the new thing, because we've got new. Here's the new thing, so we could basically just throw that right in.
So new represents that whole row. So that's the new row that's been inserted. And so, you're right. We would just create a use state variable for our comments. And then anytime we get this event, we would say set comments and spread in the existing comments and then add that payload.new.
Well, hot damn, John, this is fun, man. We got so much done. I am very pleasantly surprised with how quickly we were able to do all this stuff. I know when you were kind of giving me the heads up on, we're going to do a database, and then we're going to do a website using that database, and then we're going to do authentication for that database, and then we're going to do comments, and then we're going to do real time. I was like, zero chance we're getting that done. Like, I was just ready. I was like, we'll pick a point to end and be good. But this is incredible.
To be fair, I was thinking the same thing. I didn't actually think we'd get through all of this. I'm impressed.
I mean, this is incredible. Yeah. So let me push this now. Add real-time subscription for new comments, and we'll push that up, and that will deploy. Let's see, the deploy should be done here. And so, there is our blog, and if we go to page
so we just
2,
need to take that URL just quickly. We need to take that URL and just add it to our Supabase auth settings, just so that someone would be able to log in. Otherwise, they would be forwarded to localhost. If you go
settings, site URL,
and
like
then
that.
Site URL, just loaded for a second and replaced it. But that's the one. And then save. That's all we need to change.
Beauty.
And it's now production.
All right, y'all. So you can go and play with this right now, and check out the login, check out the loading of data and all those good things, and then clone it, set up your own Supabase, and mess with all these settings, because this is really, really fun. John, where should somebody go if they want to take next steps?
If you want to take next steps, you should definitely check out my new Egghead course. So if you search Egghead and then probably just SaaS, or if you go to Egghead.io and scroll down, I think it's still in the What's New section.
Oops, I already clicked the button. It was SaaS.
Oh, God. Let's just go
there
SaaS.
It is.
And it's that first one. So build a SaaS product using Next.js, Supabase, and Stripe. And so in this course, we go all the way from an empty project all the way through to actually having a real subscription-based billing service that actually charges people real money in production. And so,
great.
I highly recommend you check this out. It goes much more into depth into all of the things that we covered here and much, much more. It's a really good way to learn what Supabase has to offer.
Okay, and make sure you go check out supabase.com. Make sure that you are looking at John on the Twitter so that you can get all those details and get this really unsettling profile picture in your stream every day. And let's take a moment to shout out to the live captioning. We've had Amanda here all day from White Coat Captioning. Thank you so much for being here. And that's made possible through the support of our sponsors, Netlify, Fauna, Auth0, all kicking in to make the show more accessible to more people. We are looking, while you're clicking on things on the site, make sure you go check out the schedule. We've got so much good stuff coming up, including we've got N8N later this week. We're going to have Harshil on the show to talk about automation. It's going to be really, really fun. And then next week, we're going to do a week on music. So on Tuesday, Dan Gorlick is going to teach me how to make music with code. So algorithmically generated music. It's going to be super fun. And then Shar Styles is going to join us on Thursday to take whatever Dan and I build on Tuesday and build on-the-fly visualization for it using code. So really, really, really powerful, cool stuff. I am blown away by the work that these two do. Cannot wait to learn a little bit about how to do it.
I love the inspiration of Winamp there as well. Winamp. I miss Winamp days.
Visualizations
Spotify just doesn't cut it.
They were the best.
They were.
But yeah,
beautiful.
so and then we've got Ben Holmes is going to come. He's actually debuting the renderers for different things. Like if you want to use Vue or Svelte or whatever in Slinkity, you can do that now. Well, you will be able to do that as of this debut episode with Slinkity. So anyways, all that is really exciting. I'm really looking forward to everybody to get in here. So please get in. Get your calendar marked. You can put this on Google Calendar. You can do a follow on Twitch. That's free, and it'll just let you know when we're live. You can follow Learn with Jason on Twitter. All sorts of good ways to get involved. Please do that. We would love to see you here. With that, I think we're going to call this one a win. John, any final words for everybody before we call this finished?
No, just go build some cool stuff. Tell us what you're building. Hit us up on Twitter, and we'd love to share it.
Love it. All right, y'all. We are going to go raid Prince's stream. So make sure you go and share a little love with Prince. John, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. It was an absolute blast. Chat, as always, thank you for hanging out with us. We will see you next time.
Thanks for having me. This was awesome. See ya.